Hi, this is Pete Gooding from Ibiza, musical director at Hostel La Torre, and you are listening to the Liverpool Connection Podcast.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Liverpool Connection Podcast. I'm Daz. This is my football and music episode where I bring on a guest to chat about football, most importantly, music as well. My next guest is an amazing DJ and producer. He comes from sunny Wales. Can't wait to get into it with him because he's been on two of my favourite record labels, Last Night on Earth, which is Sasha's, and John Digweed's Bedrock. So we're going to get into it. Aubrey Fry.
Hello, mate.
Pod. So happy
nice to be here.
Let's get into it. I know we're off camera talking about football. And I know a lot of musicians, they just don't have time to watch it anymore. So, they don't keep up with it. And you were saying when you were younger, you were a Liverpool supporter. So, that's two thumbs up already in my books.
Well, yeah. So when I went to primary school, I obviously started playing football because that was the sport at school. It's always the sport at school in the UK, isn't it? Liverpool were I just dreamt, played Liverpool. I was a huge Ryan Giggs fan for many years. Which didn't he play for Liverpool?
No, Man United.
Did he not?
Yeah, he was at United.
But he's Welsh, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's why I loved him. but I'm sure he played for Liverpool at one point. No, he didn't. No.
Yeah,
I hate United.
See, another good start. That's a great start.
But yeah, when I was at primary school, I had I think it was a home team. It was the candy strip. Remember the old candy strip? But it was the green one. I think that was a home team, a home kit. But anyway, yeah. And then I got kind of peer pressured by my family, who are all massive Arsenal supporters. The whole family support Arsenal. Most of my family are English. I'm not. I'm very Welsh. I'm very proud of it, which is why I like Ryan Giggs. Or liked Ryan Giggs. But yeah, my family, they've always been huge supporters of Arsenal, and yeah, my uncle bought me an Arsenal kit, and then every year that he'd do the same thing, he'd buy me a new Arsenal kit. So I was just basically forced into Arsenal. And I mean,
some would say that's child abuse.
Well, it could be, yeah. I mean, so my cousin. The trouble is, my cousin was the chief executive of Arsenal, guy called Peter Hill-Wood, so it was like so ingrained into my family. And then years later, I saw him in London, and I was like, Peter, let's any chance of a season ticket? Because I fancy going to some games now. I'm living in London. He's like, no. Well, you do the same as the rest of the family. You buy one. So I was like, oh, okay, really? He's like, yeah, no, it doesn't matter if you're family. Every one of your family buys season tickets. You will buy one. I said, oh Jesus, so I won't do that. So I didn't ever buy a season ticket in the end, much to my family's disgust. And I did support them under duress. But I was pleased to see that they did quite well last year. I thought that was quite nice to see them doing well again, because they've been dreadful for years. And obviously, yeah, I mean, secretly, I'm just still a Liverpool supporter, aren't I? Really? I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, you know, Arsenal, like every team goes through periods, like the 70s and 80s were really good to Liverpool.
yes,
Under, Shankly and then Paisley and then Kenny,
yes,
United kind of took over. And I think that's where the animosity comes from, is with a lot of Liverpool and United. We just can't stand one another.
yeah,
I think we can all agree that the great thing, yeah, Arsenal did good last season and the season before. United haven't done anything, in years in the league.
yeah.
That makes me very happy. Makes me sleep better at night,
It makes me quite happy too, actually, mate. I'll be honest, because if I supported any team in Manchester, it'd be City. But just because I hate United.
uh, I'm gonna clip that. I love it. I can't get enough because I've had some musicians on here who are actually United supporters, and I have to grit my teeth just listening to them speak highly of Man United, obviously I do have the people I have on as guests. I appreciate them musically, but then their footballing tastes, not so much. Greg Wilson, absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic DJ, and but he's a United supporter, and he was born in Liverpool, so that's like an even worse thing.
Yeah, they could at least be Everton. I mean,
Yeah, but who wants to be Everton though? Who
it's
wants
true.
to be
It's
Evertonian? They're just absolute. They're miserable, and most
Yeah.
Evertonians are Welsh anyway.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
So
Yeah, it's funny. I've got the same thing. Being a Welshman, we also like other sport as well. And I mean, we're dreadful at football. We've got one good player, and God knows he won't be around for very much longer. So God knows what it'll be like then. But we do like a rugby as well. I know this is a football channel, but but just to sort of reiterate how I feel, in a similar vein to United, as a Welshman, if we're playing England, okay, I'll always obviously support Wales.
mhm.
If Argentina are playing England, I will also support Argentina. If Scotland are playing England, I'll support Scotland. I will never support England in the rugby because I'm Welsh.
Proper Welsh man. You look like you could probably play rugby.
I used to play a lot of rugby. Yeah.
You're a big lad. So was there any like obviously growing up a Liverpool supporter, was there any like childhood Liverpool player? I know you like the Ryan Giggs, the Welsh bit.
That era's I'm just trying to think who I really supported when I was at primary school. Which player? Who were the big players in the 80s?
John Barnes.
Definitely Barnes.
Ian
Definitely
Rush.
Ian Rush and John Barnes. Yeah.
Oh, Rush
definitely.
is Welsh.
Rush is Welsh, exactly. Yeah. But Barnes, I think Barnes was my favourite. I think he was probably, yeah. And who else was there? They're great players. It's been such a long time since I've talked about Liverpool in the 80s. And I'm so indoctrinated into Arsenal.
Oh. Yeah, that's terrible. Well, I think it's even terrible that your cousin wouldn't even give you tickets.
That was a point. I haven't spoken to him since, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're listening in, Peter, your card's marked.
Yeah, but we're gonna put his name across the bottom. Like,
yeah.
So, Aubrey, how do I always like to know, when you fit, in your house, what was like your mum and dad's musical tastes?
So it's quite tough to talk about my dad's musical taste. He died when I was 6, unfortunately. So I don't have a huge amount of memory, although he was a publican. So he my first home was a pub, and he was really into fishing, fly fishing. So Nick Warren and I have a lot to talk about on that front, because he's well into fly fishing. But yeah, he liked the classics. He was, I tell you what he did like. He liked Led Zeppelin. He was really into Led Zeppelin. That's one thing I can remember from him. I don't remember a huge amount about my father because he died when I was so young. And but my mum, she was well into music, and so I grew up on Prince, James Brown, bit of Michael Jackson, Off the Wall, that was a good band, I remember. The Pretenders, lots of old soul. My mum she grew up in London, so in the 70s, and she was sort of a teenager in the 70s. So she was really into ska and dub. She really liked dub reggae. So that really inspired me, because I'm really into obviously electronic music, but dub and when it comes to electronic music, I really like dub techno. So that really kind of inspired me. That kind of whole sort of Afro-Caribbean sort of music that she was pushing towards me. And James Brown, I mean, he was just a don. Prince, absolute don, and really like pushing boundaries with electronica as well, and rock. Who else of note? Yeah, I mean.
Oh, I mean, that's a really good.
The Cure as well. I was really into the Cure. My mum, the Smiths, massive Smiths fan. Again, just it was that time when there was that real crossover into high production, high quality music production, not just like pop music, but really edgy. Fringe music becoming really, really high production. So it was a really exciting time, the 80s, I found, for music, because you got that really sort of clean, high production sound coming through. And actually, when I got into music, sort of electronic music, it was my mum that did that as well, because when I was 14 years old, she bought me the Renaissance 2 mix CD by John Digweed. And I listened back to it again the other day, because I do occasionally do that. It was the first ever kind of really high production studio quality DJ mix. Like Fact had been out. That was, by Carl Cox. That was insane in my book. One of the best DJ mixes of all time, still is. And because just the selection of tracks were just insanely good. But Renaissance 2, and specifically CD 2 of Renaissance 2, was like, for me, the first time I heard like a flanger effect being put over a DJ mix. And it was, I mean, you listen back now and it was clearly done in a studio, because I mean, it's just flawless and perfect. But it was the first time that I heard electronic music that wasn't just like, a rave CD from Fantasia or something, or Emotion or Genesis Rave. that was like really, really high quality. Like not just done in a bedroom, but definitely done in a very, very good studio with like a nice Lexicon effects unit and like just really pucker sounding. And it really took me. And because that mix is such a journey, it it really there's like faultless mixing and then like key changes and sort of it's absolutely amazing. And that completely sucked me in. That was it. My Saturday job, I was saving up for some SoundLab DLP 1600 belt drive turntables. I was going into my local city and buying loads of shit records, to be honest with you. Excuse the language. And then, finding decent stuff, finding some nice jackpot records, tracks, and, slowly kind of picking away to find a decent set of music that I was happy with, and learning how to beat match and mix on these quite honestly dreadful belt drive decks. But again, if you can mix on those, you can mix on anything. And I did. I really honed it. I was absolutely tight. So I, that mix, back to the mix CD. That mix CD really is the start for me. And my mum bought me that CD in Catapult Records in Cardiff, which sadly is no more. But it was a classic, rave shop. You go in and there was, walls of tape packs and CDs, and then downstairs was the record shop. So, I very regularly went into Cardiff record shopping. And then, sorry to keep going on, but to kind of hark on about Cardiff again, because basically very shortly after that, I think it was within the next year, I went to see a friend of mine in Cardiff who had just gone to college there, and he was sort of staying in student digs, and I was I was about to be 16, I think, or something then. So it was like, I got given the CD when I was 14. Then my birthday's March, so I was 15. Yeah, so I was probably just about to be 16 when I went to Cardiff, smoking fags, drinking illegally, and having fun with my mate in his student digs. And I heard this like wicked racket going on outside. I was like, "That's the wicked dance music. What's that?" So I opened the window and looked down, and right below my mate's flat was the Hippo Club, and the Hippo Club was like a legendary rave venue in the sort of early 90s. It was, and it went on until sort of late 90s, that place. But it was, I was like, what the hell is that? It's amazing. It was Sasha playing right below me in the Hippo Club. I was like, we got to go, mate. So we went, we got in. I had like probably one of the best nights of my life. Age 15, nearly 16, but still not legal at all. And also Jimpy was playing there as well, who I'm still really good friends with. And it was just insane. So yeah, I mean, Sasha, Digweed mixed CD, and then Sasha's that Sasha experience at the Hippo. Yeah, I mean, I was like, that was on a path then. That was it. That's all I wanted to do.
So with as you alluded to with Jimpy, was he a massive influence on you then?
Certainly because I'd seen him play right after Sasha. Sasha finished and he was on last, and I stayed there and it was absolutely brilliant. He's an amazing DJ, still is. Actually, I played with him last weekend in Cardiff, District. So yeah, he I guess is, although at that stage I was just like, it's just another DJ, and I'd only just really discovered Sasha that night, because I was like, this is my first experience, and I was like, oh. I didn't even know he was Welsh at that time. which he is. Good fact. And yeah, so Jimpy became a much more of an inspiration when I saw him on that track, that Tarantella remix of his track on San Francisco, I think it is, the Global Underground San Francisco mix CD. And it was like, although it's there's tons of great tracks on there. It was a really standout track for me. It was one of those really different ones. It was, I talked about tracks having sort of key changes and stuff, and it was like really different, and was, it plays perfectly within the mix to kind of really switch gears and change the vibe of the journey, which is, I think, really important in any DJ set. So yeah, he kind of came back on my radar then, and actually he and I have become really good friends more recently. I mean, I'm doing gigs a lot in Cardiff, and he's still doing the occasional gigs in Cardiff, and I sort of reconnected with him because of those gigs, and we're actually writing an album together at the moment. Hot news. So look out for that. That'll be about at some point in the next 12 months, I should think. But it's coming out really well. And we're kind of really exploring our roots, really, which is that kind of progressive tech trance style, slightly more pacey than your average progressive record these days. Not more than 127, 128 BPM. So kind of Sasha's speed right now, actually, because he's paced it up recently. But that's going to be a really nice record. It's turning out really well. Every track so far we're super happy with. We've got 2 more to do, and it's going to be really good. So yeah, inadvertently, Jimpy's become a huge influence in my life. And he's fantastic. He's the most amazing DJ. He really is. He's incredible. We're very similar in our kind of love of the music as well, the genre and kind of style. So it's really nice.
So when did obviously, like we all do, we get decks. We play in the bedroom. We'll play some house parties. In the early days. When did you go, all right? I think I'm good enough to actually play out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think as soon as I managed to do a double side tape without fucking up, I was like, I'm ready. You and actually it wasn't even an auto turnover tape. It was like, it stopped. You had to look out for it stopping because it was old. You'd open it up, turn it over while the record was still spinning, close it up, hit record again and carry on. And not stop, and as soon as I managed to do 2 sides of a tape and listen back to it and think, yeah, that's banging, I was ready. And people used to tell me that I was ready before I felt ready, because you have this sort of like imposter syndrome. That's what I call it, where it's I'm used to, everyone has it, I think, if they're an artist. They just don't feel kind of completely at ease with what they're doing all the time. They need reassurance from other people in some way. But I think that's a part of being an artist. Every artist is the same. If they say they don't, they're not really an artist, in my opinion. They're probably faking it. It took a double side of a 90 tape, and I was set. I started cruising around free parties in Wales, because there's some brilliant free parties in Wales, up at Abergwessin, and just in the middle of nowhere, Aberystwyth, over there, and yeah, just in the middle of like thick woodland, in the middle of usually quite wet Wales, banging out progressive trance and techno. So I did that for a while, and I mean, I obviously took too many drugs and enjoyed myself too much, and I felt, being someone that, I mean, I was probably quite, without getting too deep into it, and being too deep, but I did struggle as a child, with various things, and I think, drugs for me became a bit of a escape from some pretty dark times in my childhood. So that, and the music kind of took over, and eventually I decided that I needed to try and get a bit of a career or something under my belt, because going around free parties wasn't really going to pay the bills. So basically, I learned to be a chef. I trained to be a chef first, and did that at college, and then did a apprenticeship in a Belgian restaurant, doing sort of classic French cuisine. So I'm a really good cook. And then after that, I just thought, no. If you don't do it now, you're not going to you're going to really, really be upset with yourself for not chasing your dreams. So I enrolled in college down in Northbrook College in Sussex, Worthing, Sussex, moderated by Sussex Uni, and did a foundation course first, and then another 3 years of music production and sound engineering at Northbrook College, and basically trained myself in audio production, and on various levels, live and studio production. So it was great. I was basically in Brighton, and learning, meeting loads of amazing artists, working with amazing artists, learning the craft. And I mean, Phil Hartnell from Orbital, he was a neighbour of mine, and we became really good friends. He became my surrogate dad. Phil, if you're listening, hey pops. Just Brighton in the early 2000s was like just happening. Adam Freeland. You had all sorts of really cool, interesting things happening in Brighton. I became a resident DJ at a club called the Funky Buddha Lounge on a Friday night for a night called Stomper Funk, which was the slogan was Jack in Acid Discotheque, all one word, which is basically, it was the very early days of kind of electro house, and so I'd play there on a Friday, and then very often, once a month, it was once a month, there was Bedrock down at the beach. So I'd end up playing at Buddha Lounge. I'd make sure that I was doing an early slot that night, and then I'd fuck off next door to see John, because that's always been my love, really, is progressive house and that kind of genre. So I was doing what I love. Really enjoying myself, and learning some amazing skills, meeting amazing people, and enjoying life. Didn't stop taking drugs though.
I mean, a lot of people in the scene, kind of the same story as you as well.
Yeah.
The kind of mental health issues, drugs kind of went hand in hand, dark places, take drugs, brings you out, but then it kind of makes it even darker, once you come down off of everything.
Trick is to never come down. That's the trick, is you never ever come down. That's the one. Yeah, I did that for 25 years, and I'm completely off everything now. So I don't take drugs, I don't drink. Never say never. That's my motto, because that keeps you on the straight and narrow, in my opinion. I'm never one to beat myself up. You know, I don't think I think that's the worst thing in the world, having guilt. If you know, and that's. I used to go to AA meetings for years, and I stopped going to them because it just felt too like there was some guy above you with a big stick ready to beat you if you fuck it up, and I just don't think that's right. So although it works for a lot of people, and I'd still go to meetings, and I know loads of people that still go to meetings, but I don't need to. I'm absolutely fine. But yeah, mental health issues, and you know, it's just stuff that happens when you're a child. It's generally it's why you go down that road. But yeah, no, it's yeah, the trick is to just never come off them.
But I mean, you know, obviously, you know, when you're a bit younger, you can kind of get away with having a few drinks when you DJ and stuff, or you know, taking some drugs. But this day and age, you know, when you're getting paid to do
Yeah, I
something,
mean, it's
you
if you
gotta be
look at all the if you look at all the professionals, all professional DJs, well, not all of them, but most of them these days are totally. This is business. This is what it's about, and that's the only way you can operate. It's the only way you get anything done. You know, basically, you just can't do it anymore. It's can't get away with it anymore. Which
well, the touring as well. You know, I mean,
oh, it's brutal. I mean, it's brutal without anything. You know, it's like it is really hard. You know, it's really hard on the body. I did a little mini tour in South America last month, and I did 9 flights in 12 days, and it's brutal, man. It's like it's really hardcore.
What's your take on that though, Aubrey? You know, because you have these young kids and they watch TikTok, they watch, you know, Instagram, and the social media is always in your face. You know, they see DJs as rock stars, don't they? You know, they've got these private jets and everything, but what they don't really understand is it takes so much out of you. You get on you get on a plane, you get off the plane, you know, maybe 3 hours before your gig, go straight to a hotel, you know, maybe have a bit of something to eat, then DJ, then come back to the hotel, sleep for a couple of hours, then get back on another flight. You know, it's tough. I mean, kids, I don't
It's really tough.
realize.
No, it's really, really tough.
It's not champagne, caviar, and all that good stuff, you know, constantly.
No.
People
Well,
need to
not
realize.
for all of us anyway. Some people maybe, but
Maybe for the top 10 of DJ Mag 100 or whatever that rubbish is. I don't even take any notice of that. I believe it's just
it's nonsense.
It is it just makes me laugh. You know, the top 10 DJs of the world. I'm like, yeah, all right, but I mean, it is a tough life. You know,
it is. It's not easy at all, and you know, it's the perpetual hustle. You know, it's. I mean, everyone I know has to hustle constantly to get anywhere, and that's because you know there's 1,000 more DJs than there were probably even 5 years ago, and you know it's just difficult. You got to constantly hustle to get anywhere, and that's be that getting gigs or you know selling records, or it's constant. You know, the hustle is relentless, and you know, if you don't like that, you're screwed. Thankfully, I like that bit. It's good fun, and you know, I do a night in Cardiff of my own actually occasionally. It's sort of about 3 or 4 gigs a year, not many. Just sort of every quarter, we put on a really high quality, mostly progressive dipping into techno, but only so far. Gig at a really good club, and we put on. We've got a certain standard of DJ that we put on, and we do put on, support acts with them, and they're genuinely they're all amazing, and they're all pretty local as well. There's one that comes from quite far. She comes from London, Mia Aurora. She's amazing though, and I really want to support her, so we keep booking her, and she's amazing. But the rest are all fairly local, and then as a result of these gigs, you get so many requests from people, doing what I do, which is hustling. They're just, all they're doing is reaching out online, sending me a message. Can I come and DJ at your gig? And I'm just like, well, what you got to offer? What are you doing? You've got to be really brutal. And it's like, I've just started doing your kind of music, and I've just, done these bootlegs or these, these tracks that are on Spotify or SoundCloud or whatever. And I say the same thing to all of them. It's like, well, I'll tell you what, come down to one of our gigs and get under my nose. Don't fucking message me on here and just expect that I'm going to just give you a gig and that your life's going to turn around because you've reached out, you've taken the chance to reach out to me on a fucking messaging app. Yeah. Don't do that. Come down to my gig, get under my nose, get right in my face, and show me what you are as a person. Because until I talk to you face to face, I've got no idea if I want to book you. Any see you next Tuesday can DJ. It's really easy these days. It's super easy. Okay, and that's that's the brass tacks of it. So it's really interesting to see how people are. There's people that are kind of on the radar and doing bits of touring, a bit like me, just actually hustling out there, making nights, doing stuff, making loads of music, doing it. And then there's people that just feel like they want to do it, and they just feel like a message will just suffice. No, it won't. You need to you need to get out there. So that's my biggest bit of advice for anyone that wants to get in the hustle, is just get out there, get to gigs. I go to tons of gigs. I go out, I socialize, not because I'm DJing, because I just want to go and meet people. And that's what it's all about. That's what the hustle is about, is going and meeting people, seeing if you like them, if you want to play for them, seeing if it's the sort of place you'd like to be, seeing what the crowd are like, what they like. Get inspiration. I go to gigs to get inspired for the studio mostly. It's like, oh, that was amazing. I really liked that track, and I've got it in the memory bank, and I'll go and do something similar, or get inspired by it. So yeah, it's a relentless hustle, and my big advice for anyone trying to get into it is just go out there and hustle. Don't message people online.
Well, talking of production as well, did you start hardware, or was it?
Yeah. So
I love that.
Man, totally. So my first foray into sequencing music was at my school. We had a really good music department, and they had an Atari ST with Cubase on it and a Roland JV 1080 synth, right? And which is a really good. If you listen back to loads of old hardcore, but really not the kind of shit stuff, like really high quality stuff like Jack Smooth or anything from Basement Records. That was most of that stuff was a Roland JV 1080. So it was a really good quality synthesizer, a complete nightmare to use. It was I don't know, maybe 10 buttons on it. I can't remember exactly. It's like, but you had to program it. You had to, it was, do you remember when you used to play Snake on your old Nokia phone? And or to send a text, you'd have to like hammer the button to get to the right letter. It's basically like that, basically, but you're making sounds, yeah. So they had a Roland JV 1080 and a Atari ST with Cubase. So I used to go into the music department with my best friend at school, and we'd try and reproduce kind of 80s pop tracks with the Roland JV 1080 and the Cubase, and just rewrite tracks from just try and reproduce them. And they were shit. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the classic original 80s pop track that we were trying to reproduce, but that was my first foray into it, and that was at school. So I had really early sort of FaceTime with that kind of hardware, and then once I got to college, and that's when the magic started happening, really, because it was we basically had it was all PC based, but it was Cubase. It was Cubase 4 at college, and there was a whole Mac suite as well, and they'd just released Logic as well, and Logic Audio. So audio within a PC was just happening, but we didn't really use that at the time because it was so shit. We used to use Cubase and Akai sequence. So we had EMU samplers and Akai samplers, and then there was some synths, not many, but we had a really good synthesis tutor, guy called Pear, who built modular synths for himself. So we had a really good understanding of additive synthesis, granular synthesis, FM synthesis. It was being taught to us, so it was great. And we had fairly good equipment to really get into that. But it was a great college. I had some really good hands-on time with kit. So, but the early stuff was with a Roland JV 1080 and an Atari ST with Cubase on it. And obviously, being a PlayStation, the era of the PlayStation. What was that one that we had on there? Do you remember that? There was like a dance music sequencing game.
I do.
What was that called?
Name. Cannot really. Yeah.
But that I think spurred me on in the midterm. When I was because back then kit was unreachable for people like me. It was completely the fact that I could get my hands on a Roland JV 1080 at school was I was super into it. That's all I did. Any spare time, I'd go into the music department and just program this, synthesizer. So to answer your question, I did have some good hands-on hardware experience, and audio, computer audio was just groundbreaking, and I was there from right at the start. I explained to you earlier that we're just getting into. Well, there was Logic Audio, and then Cubase 5 came out, which was an amazing audio sequencer. And at college, we also had Pro Tools. So I'm still a Pro Tools operator, although I don't use it. I can do. So that whole kind of moving over to recording audio into a computer rather than a Tascam multi-track was just groundbreaking. It was absolutely amazing. And I was kind of learning right from the start. So I think that helped me a lot. That helped me kind of understand sort of where things were going and keep up to speed with it.
Well, I think a lot of people like think, making music nowadays has been made a lot easier, with Pro Tools, with Ableton. You don't need to buy the synths anymore. There's all these plugins. And, every day thousands of records get released, on Beatport and Bandcamp. They're, 90% of them are just drivel. They're paint by numbers. That's what I call stuff like that. So for you, as a producer, I mean, your first record, right, came out on Bedrock, The Loop.
Yeah.
I mean, that blows my mind because obviously, again, we've talked about it. You're a Sasha and Digweed fan. What was your initial reaction, of John?
Well, absolutely, it blew my mind, mate. I mean, it's like, I said to John at the time, I was like, dude, do you realise that this is 25 years? Because it was almost 25 years to the day that he signed that record, to me getting hold of Renaissance 2, mixed by him. So like 25 years later, and actually like the Mirror newspaper wrote about this. They wrote an article about me about this, and it was, I don't think John's even commented on that yet to me because he's quite a private person, but it is quite amazing. It's one of those things that you don't ever give up on your dreams. It's like it will happen. If you persevere, do the legwork, hustle, it will happen. There's when I was a teenager, I got sort of sucked into the whole conspiracy thing when I was sort of 17 or 18. In fact, my first email was aubrey@disinformation.com, I think it was. But I got really sucked into that, and when I was on this disinfo site, there was a DVD for sale, which was The Secret. Okay, and you can watch it on Netflix now, I think, and it's basically this sort of like self-help kind of how you make it. Went on to become whoever's the big kind of life coach is in America these days. You've got loads of them over there. It was like this sort of like, this is what you need to do to make it. It's absolutely true. I mean, basically, if you knuckle down and actually do it, it will happen. And it can take 25 years. It can take 25 months. It can take 25 minutes if you're very lucky. But it's, if you just crack on and do what you love, eventually it will happen. And I mean, John was very, he was quite impressed that was the case as well. It was 25 years since he got me into this scene, and I've carried on. I've had big breaks in between, and I've done other things in my life, but basically, if you persevere, it will happen. And it was amazing. It was an incredible moment. I'd actually already had a couple of tracks out with John before that particular track, but only on and actually I'd had an EP out already, and I'd been on a comp of his as well. But it all happened pretty much the same year. It was within 12 months I'd done all of those things, and it was 25 years since I got given that amazing silver CD. So yeah, it was an incredible moment and something I'll cherish my whole life. And I can't thank John enough for all he's done for me. He's a huge inspiration, and also he's put his trust in my music, and I can't thank him enough for that. And people did really love the track. So It was amazing. You know, I basically wrote the original, which was actually completely beatless. It was like a completely instrumental track that I wrote with my newborn son in my arms. He was born. I felt really inspired. I got home. He was just sleeping in my arms, and I was just bashing out melodies on my keyboard while he was sleeping, and my wife was probably comatose. And it kind of just came to me, and then I just thought, oh, that sound would work really well with that sound, and that's, you know, just kind of pieced it all together in my mind, slung it all together, the bare bones of it, within an hour. You know, it just, like, I just knew what would work with what, and I felt so. It was just a pure expression of life, of death as well. You know, I was thinking about my father. You know, it was really a big moment for me having my son because of the death of my father. You know, all the kind of struggles that I'd been through with drugs and depression over the years because of my father, and also other things. And so it was a real kind of a track that was kind of inspired by real heartfelt emotion, you know, absolutely from my heart, with, you know, my absolute heart in my arms. And so I put that together, and then over the next week or so finished it, sent it to him. I was like, John, I think this is something special. And he was like, that's really special. I'd like to sign it straight away, immediately. And I'd also sent it to Dave Clark as well, who I'm also a big fan of. I love Dave Clark as a techno DJ. And he, the same week, he played it on his radio show and said, this is a masterpiece, and closed his radio show with it. So, and that was the instrumental version. So it kind of, from there, I thought, Jesus, that's, you know, that all of that just completely blew my mind. I was like, Dave Clark says it's a masterpiece. John Digweed's just signed it. What the fuck? This is just like, what the hell's going on? And I was just basically, you know, I've got a son. I'm grinning from ear to ear. Everything's hunky dory. What's going on? And then John decided he was going off on tour in Argentina. He had like a brutal 7 or 8 or more date tour over 2 weeks, like gigs at the weekend, gigs during the week, like, but not John Digweed style, not small potatoes. We're talking like minimum of 6,000 people, maximum of 30, you know, midweek, like all over Argentina, just in Argentina as well. So like, I was like, right, I've got this like fully like wicked track. It's instrumental. I've got to do a club mix because John's off, and like, this whole business is about timing. This is my time. I've got to do it. So I basically set about and put together a club mix. And when I knew John was on the plane, 30,000 feet over the Atlantic, cruising past Africa, heading towards Brazil, I was like, he'll be up now. He'll be going through records. He'll be on Wi-Fi because I know he flies BA. Right. Okay. Send it to him. So I sent it to him, and I was right. He was like, oh, nice. And he listened to it. He's like, yeah, that's wicked. And he closed every set. Actually, he didn't close the first set. He didn't play it the first set. But from the second set throughout his whole tour, he closed every set with it, like the last tune of every gig he did. And it just blew my mind. I was basically up all night every day that he was playing, just like, he got back to the UK and was like, so were you up all night waiting for all the videos? I was like, yes. But yeah,
But it's such a smart move, though. Like you said, you know, you've got to work your arse off, and knowing that John was up flying and was going to be up. I mean, because people like Digweed and Sasha, the bam, 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 not much time to probably listen to
mate,
those and everything. So yeah, well done for you.
it's just it's all about timing. I mean, it must have been the same with my last Night on Earth release as well, because I just finished I got another band project, and I just finished a big 10-day stint with my bandmates, just like writing new material, and I was really inspired by that. And I got back to my desk and I was like, I've got these other tracks that I've done myself, which I love, and but they're not quite. They sound a bit kind of Last Night on Earthy, but I think I've got to just beef them up a bit. So I got stuck into them, nailed them, and then I was like, right, what's he doing at the moment? And I can't remember exactly what he was doing. But you look at the tour, you look what's going on. You think, oh, he's not really touring right now. He might be going through records. I think he's I'm pretty sure he's regenning Last Night on Earth at the moment. He might be looking for records to sign. So sent the tracks to him, and he got back the next day and was like, yeah, I want all three of them. Like, they're great. So yeah, it's all about timing, and just being thoughtful about these people. As you say, they're fucking busy, and I know John, for example, gets sent. Well, Sasha's, I'm sure, the same. Gets sent, a couple of hundred records a day. It's no small amount. And you can't listen to them all. And I mean, he's not very well at the moment. He's had health scare recently, and he's it's probably not worth sending him records now, guys.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're ill? You sit in front of Netflix and do fuck all.
Sleep. Just sleep.
Yeah, so it's about timing, and I think that happened probably with Last Night on Earth as well, because he got straight back to me, and it's a bit of luck if you can find out some inside info on where people might be. It's probably, or have a rough guesstimate. It's probably a good idea. But yeah, timing is everything, I think.
Doing your homework on them.
Yeah, don't bolt your load, mate.
But I mean, some people would stop. They'd go, "All right, I've been on Bedrock. I've been on Last Night on Earth. I mean, what can you get any higher than that?" But what's like, as a producer, I always like to know, because there's some producers that try and do it 9 to 5 like a job.
Yeah.
Is it just when you're inspired, or do you also try to go, all right, I need to be in doing the studio at this time and get done? Because like you have a family, and that's got to,
I was going to say that's a job itself. That's the biggest job we've got, isn't it, Daz? It's like I mean, anyone that says a single mum isn't in a job needs checking. It's hard work, and I'm quite fortunate that I have other sort of small other things and that I get on with, and that kind of just roll over in the background that can kind of keep me going a bit. But basically, I'm a dad, most of the time, and a music producer the rest. And yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. It's really difficult getting interrupted when you're in a creative place. It's really, really difficult, but you learn to just manage it and get on with it. But yeah, I think I mean, I pretty much write music all the time now. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm in a phase of my life where I'm able to do that. If I'm not writing music, I'm looking after my son, and my wife does work as well, so that helps. And otherwise, I live I kind of live work really. We've got a yoga studio. We have a campsite, holiday accommodation and stuff. So on our sort of fairly small farm here in Wales, and we're lucky enough to be in a fairly kind of sought after area that people like to come visit. So we just trickle on in the background with our various revenue streams, and I just it allows me to write music, which is good, and be creative. And yeah, it's a very fortunate place to be, really, because not everyone has that luxury. But yeah, I do a lot of writing. I do a hell of a lot.
Well, you've got a lot of things to write about, like, and you know, having a child is inspirational. You know, I look at my girls and I get inspired by them. You know,
Yeah,
it might piss me off every now and again. You know, just that's how kids are. You know, we were kids once. We were all up in our parents, you know, annoying them. But you know, I'm a little bit similar. You know, my mom passed away with cancer when I was 16, and she was like my whole life. You know, my dad used to work in Iraq and Iran, construction engineer, so he was gone 9 months out the year. So my mom was my dad, so to speak.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So, you know, it is tough, but you get inspired from dark times and you get inspired from, you know, good times.
you certainly do.
You know, and that's how we are as humans. But I love your story. And I just think, you know, your career will just get better and better and better. You know, the quality of your tracks is unbelievable, mate.
Thank you, mate.
It really is. And, you know, I'm not blowing steam up your arse. Like, if
Thank you, mate.
I'm one of these people that are proper real. You know how you have a couple of mates, right? You have the one mate will just tell you everything is the best thing he's ever heard, and then you've got the other mates like, that's not very good.
Yeah.
I'm that person. Like, if it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah.
Not going to blow smoke up your arse. And,
Thank you, mate.
same with the DJ thing. You know, I've been around the block quite a few times, and you know, I've seen some of the best DJs in the world, and you know, I hope you come to Texas one of these days.
I'd love to. There's a new club in Texas,
Silo in Dallas. Yeah, that's where Sasha just played.
That's right. Yeah, I've heard about that place, and actually, I've got a bit of an in there. I've got a guy I'm working with is really close with one of the residents there, and yeah, we're talking about that. That's something that might happen, and if it does, you're in, mate. Yeah, you're on the list.
You're the nice one, not like your cousin who makes you pay.
No, mate. No. I don't. I'm the black sheep in my family, mate. I don't toe the line like that.
Yeah, Dallas is 3 hours away from here, so
nice.
It's, you know, you have to drive anywhere in the States because everything is so far away. But yeah, I mean, you know, Texas has been really good. I mean, the States, like electronic wise, you know, yeah, you've got like a lot of the EDM stuff, which it's not me, you know.
No,
it's the big room sound. I don't get it. It's again paint by numbers, and then you've got the underground stuff, you know. So I just hope that a lot of the kids that go to these like EDM events start to trickle down into the underground more and start going, you know what, there's more to this big room stuff sound, you know. And I think it'll happen. I mean, maybe not 100%, if 20%.
I think it kind of already has started in some way, because I mean, there's been some decent action in the kind of more kind of upfront area of electronica. I mean, the Bicep, for example. You know, Bicep's a great example of someone that started very underground in East London, and you know, was doing parties in East London, and suddenly blows up and is touring the world. You know, those guys are a good example, I think, of kind of keeping it kind of pretty underground, but having a formula that is accessible to many more people. There was another band called Bronson. I don't know if you caught that album. It was on Ninja Tune. Another, on the edge of commercial, but not, and like actually top quality. And I have high hopes that you're right, Daz, that people will, kind of see the light and start listening to a broader spectrum than they're used to. It's funny because like certain, a lot of the big promoters in the States that are really pushing like the Electric Daisy Carnival, Pascal, for example, he's like, he's the daddy, he's like Mr. Insomniac. And he grew up listening to Digweed, he grew up going to like underground progressive gigs. And obviously is, a businessman and doing that kind of scene now, but still books quality underground acts for these events as well. So I think, that people do get the chance to be exposed to this kind of more credible electronica. And I think, I've been seeing more and more young people going to Bedrock gigs, or Last Night on Earth gigs, and in South America, I was so surprised, like seeing like really young people going to progressive house events, en masse. So I have high hopes, and I never give up. So it's just one of my things. I never will give up. So there are things worth giving up, and there are things not worth giving up. The music, I will never give up. So I have high hopes, and I think you're right. They will see the light.
Well, you've got, I mean, lately it just seems like you're putting track after track out. I mean,
it's not stopping, mate.
Yeah. 12 Point, Chris Scott's sister label of Forensic. Again, you're in good hands because Chris is an absolute legend.
He's a lovely bloke.
It's a shame he supports Newcastle, but we can look away.
We can overlook that.
Yeah,
someone's got to support Newcastle, and it is a top quality city.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Over and above the football, it's a good place. The people are fucking amazing.
It reminds me of Liverpool.
It does. It does.
They take after their own, which is.
It really, really does. It's very, very much like that. Do you know what? A friend of mine. Here's a little funny thing. A friend of mine. He used to do merch, and he did merch for quite a lot of big rock acts, and also Depeche Mode. He did their merch. So he was the guy that organised and facilitated all of the official merch T-shirt stands at these big world tour events. And he did Depeche Mode for many years, and he went through a period of going between Newcastle and Amsterdam, like backwards and forwards to Depeche Mode gigs. So they did like a series of these gigs between Newcastle, and he realised that when he went to Amsterdam, he learned how to speak Dutch because he was hanging out in Newcastle so much, and their language is so similar. Apparently there's tons of words that are like just like being a Geordie. So I thought that was quite interesting.
That's funny. When you think about it, you're like, yeah. I'll tell you what, Aubrey, it's been great chatting with you.
And you, sir.
Again, I always bring on people that are part of my musical landscape who I admire, and I now talking to you, I love, your worth ethic. And it's just brilliant. I just think sky's the limit. Again, I'm sure, going to South America and seeing like it just, that scene in South America is just
That's amazing.
insane. It's just
It's absolutely amazing.
you know, because that what I like is, and especially for a DJ as well, it's not this like 1 hour set. It's this 3, 5,
Yeah.
6 hours. And I think that that's great because, you know, when you get booked to just play an hour and a half, you've got to, you really have to, you know, especially if you're the headliner, you got to put the bangers out. But when you're able to, you know, kind of curate the whole night or
Yeah.
most of the night, you know, and their openers really know how to open.
They really do. They really do. I said to my agent actually recently, who's based in Argentina, he's a nice guy called Fabricio from FP Beats. If you want to book me, but he is a lovely guy, and I was like, so dude, I just want you to know that my price is my price, yeah, but I will play for as long as they want me to, literally. If they want me to carry on all day, I'm there. All right. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, literally. I've got one price for any time. Sell me on that basis. Go get them.
You can take that to the bank. No, that again, that, you know, that I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
It should be a privilege to play for people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but they're also bringing in, you know, bombs on the seats.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of have that balance. But any new stuff coming out soon?
Yes, lots. So I got a remix pack coming up of I did like a sort of slightly different track, well, very different track actually. Earlier this year, I did like a sort of collaboration with a new pop singer called Her Majesty, and we did a sort of like crossover alt pop type track together. It was very much a kind of electro, but with a kind of slightly progressive tip to it. And I've got a load of mixes coming out of that this weekend. Got a few bits coming out on some other labels, some bigger labels, and also pretty much a track a month from me landing on your inbox. Well, for as long as people want to keep signing my records, really. So yeah, I've got tons of material, loads of new stuff, tracks coming out every month. Yeah, and hopefully till the end of time.
Yeah. Well, everyone listening, you can find Aubrey's tracks on Bandcamp, Beatport, Spotify. Get that algorithm up. Yeah. Do you have a website?
I do, yeah. AubreyFry.com. Yeah, AubreyFry.com. And yeah, you can find absolutely everything on there. And yeah, I mean, you're all welcome to shoot me an email as well. I'm always available. Just email me at book@aubreyfry.com.
Yeah, especially if you want to book Aubrey. He'll play for, you know, like he said, until you tell him to get off. So one price fits all. Aubrey, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Peace, Daz. Lots of love to you, brother.
Definitely keep in touch.
Will do.
I'll hopefully be back home April. I've got a wedding to go to, not mine, because I just celebrated with the missus our 18th wedding anniversary today. So
oh, congratulations!
Yeah, still
well
together
done,
after all these years. I don't know how she's put up with me, but she
yeah,
has. So you know, fair play to her.
I'm not far behind you, mate. I'm on 16 years now. So
yeah, I'll tell you what, it's in this day and age, that's good numbers, you know, because many people just they don't work on it. They just go, that's it. So I'm not going to leave on a bad note, but please everyone, please like, subscribe, put your notifications on, and we'll see you next time.